morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the weekly energies with today's Monday's Musings on the 23rd of June 2025. And it would appear no matter how I position myself this morning, I can't seem to get away from the light. I've turned off the light of my camera because it reflects back in my glasses as two golden white orbs. I can see the Himalayan salt lamp in the corner of my glasses there, and regardless of where I sit, if I turn to one side this way there's a lot of light coming through, and if I move this way there's a lot of light coming through, and there's a lot of light behind me and above me, which isn't actually what I had intended or planned on sharing this morning, what I had assumed would come through this morning with the obvious external events that are happening around us. That being said, the light that is about is almost betraying, that's the word that I want to say, betraying the image that is in front of me, not portraying the image. It's making it very difficult to concentrate and focus on what is in front of me. It's very distractive when trying to film this video. When I fell into the energies this morning, despite or maybe because of everything that is going on, it has never felt more important or more paramount that I connect to what is being asked of me, that I prepare in a way that is being asked of me, not just individually but within my community. I don't know about anybody else, but this weekend, and that really aches my neck, it's like a real pain in the neck. It's like a real, oh no, am I really going over this again? It's like a real crick, laying funny, been in the wrong position type energy whilst dreaming coming through. Which again is interesting because on the one hand I can feel a lot of guidance trying to come through that is very grounded, very level-headed, very expectant. But on the next level, a different type of approach trying to come through in regards to everything that is happening around me and the information that is being sought and received and how that is happening also. So let's break that down bit by bit, because I'm aware as I'm sharing this that this new this new way of working with these energies is going to take some time to integrate, or at least we feel it may need some time to integrate because it doesn't fit the narrative of the external or what we are used to. However, if we can trust and come back into our body like you can see I'm doing myself now, things will flow naturally and automatically, because this that is coming through now is actually natural for us. It may have taken external events to trigger it, to glimmer it, to bring it up, particularly the energy of fear. However, the wisdom that is coming through in the face of adversity has always been part of our light. Whether it's by our side, whether it's in front of us, whether it's behind us, it's always been part of who we are. So this morning I was sensing into some of the messages, and those that read my daily post, they will know that I got up and achieved a lot this morning, and I did so because of fear, because of a whopping, well, okay, wasn't whopping, but a spider above me in my bed that was hovering, moving very fast, but hovering as if it could fall on me at any moment, which made me jump out of bed so quickly. Now, I wanted to get up early this morning. I felt the need. I knew that things needed adapting and shifting this morning. I knew that in order to create the reality that I wanted to create for myself and those around me, it had to be more than an idea, that actually the strength of that reality will be based on my actions. And this is not anything that we don't know, but it is going to another level this week. With the new moon, with everything that's going on, with life, with the sheer fact that we've evolved and that we've grown, it's time to take it to the next level. We don't need these triggering situations to get us to do so. However, they do tend to do that. So the fear of the spider, yes, made me get out of bed. It made me wake up on all levels, and it made me really look at some of the intentions that I hadn't put into place for whatever reason. And it was born from fear. Now, obviously, I'm not comparing arachnophobia to a lot of the extensive things that are occurring around us. However, Fear is a biochemical reaction, and like any energy, it gives us an opportunity to look at how we react. What light force is behind us? How do we connect to what is going on? The other thing I noticed in a lot of my postings this morning, it's not about making the most of things. It's not about making do. That is a very inherent way of being from our ancestors. That is a great gift. However, this is bigger than that. This morning I was posting a few things about war and about creativity and how art and music and community and being in our heart space can not only help us through these times, but take this energy and transmute it. When we talk about healing, when we talk about holding space, when we talk about ceremony, a fundamental, for me personally, aspect that appears to get forgotten in these processes is it's not about fixing something as such, but taking something and working with it to create something different. It's about transformation. It's about transmutation. What are we going to do with this? How can we alchemize this energy? One of the biggest aspects that's going to come through in 2026 is our ability to work with our heart coherence, our ability to work with our emotions. We are going to have archetypes like the spider, and I've just realized that actually, but that would make sense. The Wheel of Fortune, yes, the webs that we weave, the fates, how we create with that would make sense. But also the horse archetype, said it before, we'll say it again. Horses have an incredible heart coherence. They have a wonderful emotional capacity to not only feel things, but to work with them. It's time that we as a society take the idea of empathy and being an empath and sensing everything from it being a wound to it being the root cause and change of whatever is actually happening in our circumstances. To do that, we must be aware of our ability to be open, our emotional capacity, our emotional intelligence. Some of the things that I was sharing this morning were how in the times of adversity, mankind has created some of its greatest strength, some of its greatest beauty, and how that is also a potential. So whilst I say this morning that I wasn't expecting to talk about how much light there is, it was there. That message was there. Now I share that before I look at the cards and the energy for the week, which I will do on an individual level. There may be things that come in for the collective, and I'm not bypassing them or disregarding them, but one of the things I've always brought to the table is how we can make an impact individually within our community, and I will stand by that. So I will look at the energy this week and how we can best navigate them on an individual level to form the bigger picture. However, what I will suggest is the great strength that comes from sometimes not being able to see what's going on in front of us as an opportunity to go within and really feel what is being asked of us. In times of harsh conditions, whatever they may be, how prepared are we? I'm hearing a lot about people that are preparing for worst case scenarios, and I would like to say I have no view on that, and that would not be totally accurate. I do have a view on that because of my stance on things. You know, I'm very much one for preparing. I'm a Virgo moon. I have obsessive compulsive disorders. I'm very much one for preparing. However, I'm also very much one for balance and for preparing for all situations. I think if we limit ourselves to one thing in particular, that is all we're going to be ready for. So whilst my approach isn't about ignoring what is going on, it is about remaining open and fluid and flexible to all alternatives. It is human nature to focus on worst case scenario. It has been part of our survival instinct. It's how we've lived as long as we have as a species. It's wired within our very brain, within our very core and cellular activity. There is nothing right or wrong about preparing for times ahead. There is a very fine line between preparing and, I'm hearing causing, I'm not going to say that, but preparing and hoarding, preparing and actually resisting alternative realities, preparing and staying so rigid in what we believe will happen, nothing else can occur. Using our external environment and preparing that, and not taking on stock how prepared or lack of we may be internally. I've seen a lot of people collecting their resources, shall we say, whether that's lessons, whether that's wounds, whether that's strengths, resilience, food, communities, boundaries, whatever that may be. These aspects that have been seen as our strengths are being collected, held on to. And that's the difference, not shared. Okay, so again, where is the prep coming from? Is it coming from a fear that we will not have enough? Is it coming from a fear that we will not be supported? Is it coming from a fear that we are alone? Because from that perspective, only so much can be achieved. It will only ever be on an individual level. The problems that we face collectively are that they are collective. Whilst I am one for really focusing on our individual acts and deeds, you cannot solve a world problem on your own. It's going to take community. It's going to take connecting to like-minded and sometimes not like-minded individuals to find a different solution, a different way. It's going to take reuniting with family and with friends and with people that bring out your greatest strengths and abilities and help you to see your own light and emotional capacity in these times. What I'm actually seeing is the opposite. I'm seeing people prepare for themselves. I'm seeing people concentrate solely on what they can do, which is a beautiful thing. But again, there's that balance. If you're concentrating just on what you can do, you're not leaving scope for a far bigger solution. This vision that we hold isn't just ours alone to be held. Opening up this week to each other, to potentials, to resources that we actually need, and then resources that we can actually share. And recognizing the resistance there is what actually needs preparation. So I'm seeing a lot of situations, again, where people are preparing, but they're preparing built on old foundations that aren't in alignment with the world that we find ourselves in. They're preparing from a place of being mentally out of balance or physically out of balance. And you know, it's one thing to have all the food and all the safety in the world, but if you cannot work, or if you cannot physically go and get water that you need, or if you cannot emotionally share things or be open to receiving things, any preparation is worthless. The work comes back to ourselves in our ability to create with these energies, whatever they may entail, whatever they may turn out to be. How prepared are we to hold the part of the light that we are being asked to hold? How prepared are we to receive and to give? How strong are we in our mindset? And by strength, I don't mean rigidity, I mean flexibility. How open are we in our emotions? And by open, I don't mean able to rise above them, I mean feel them, I mean experience them, embody them, work with them. How full are we in our own potential this week, or of our own self this week? There's a real difference. There's a fine line. Okay, so coming back to when things get confusing in front of us, and there's going to be a lot of light. You know, it's not to say that the information coming in isn't a beautiful thing. It's not to say that it isn't relevant. We are going to see people standing up for themselves and for each other and fighting for rights that need to be heard. We are going to see people holding space and peace in ways that they never have before. And it's, you know, the light is there. It's going to come in all directions, and it will blind us at times to our own and to our own purpose here. So really feeling into that, excuse me. It's trying to come, it's trying to be voiced this week. It is coming from the higher heart, really feeling into what needs to be released in order to do that, how prepared we are to step into what is actually being asked of us. How do we do that? Observe the light, be part of the light, but keep coming back to what you feel and trusting that. I shared the most incredible post today about being open to all different realities, our own included, and how important it is that we are different. Nothing will change if we're all the same. How important it is that we do see things differently. And we may find, you know, I've really noticed it this week over the solstice. My gosh, what a week. Actually, that was so not like me. My gosh, my God, fucking hell, what a week. It felt like I was combating everybody that I loved this weekend, just purely to stay in who I am. This week you may find that there are so many different opinions, so many different perspectives, and it's not to say that one is more accurate than the other. It's an opportunity to strengthen your soul's core. Learn, be curious, adapt if you feel you need to. Be flexible in whatever your beliefs are. Allow them to grow. See this as a strengthening of your own resolve. The light that is behind you, everything that is coming in, is an opportunity to remember what you have survived, what your ancestors have survived, what you can share, what you can offer. Prepping is not a one-way system. Solving a situation that is collective, global, cannot be done by one person. Community now is the way forward. Really looking at any resistance, myself included, I can feel that resistance that we may have to that, and working with that, prepping with that. So energies this week and how to best navigate them. On the very top of the pack, I wasn't going to acknowledge it, but it feels important to acknowledge what is on the surface. We have the Seven of Swords, and here the deck that I'm going to use are the Runic Tarot. The reason I'm going to use these, oh look, if I hold up what it is I'm doing, I can see better. Just blocking out that bit of light. If we actually put our hand up, this is me, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm sharing, we will see ourselves more clearly this week. But the deck that I'm using are the Runic Tarot. The reason that I'm using these is they are to the point. They are quite strong energies. They're very Viking based. They're very much around the runes as well. But they have a beautiful embodied balance between darkness and light. That feels very poignant this week and, well, always, but particularly this week and as we go into next year. It feels important not to be flippant with why things are poignant, actually. To really recognise why something is important. In a time like now that we're all facing with such adversity and such fear and such potential, it is vital that we can embody a relationship with the darkness and the light that is within us. Using these because they help us get directly to the point, because that's the energy that they hold. On the top of the pack, what's on the surface here is the Seven of Swords. And what you can see, devious behaviour, things not quite being as they seem, being unexpectedly attacked. At least that's how it can feel. Now the Seven of Swords is the mental card. It is a card of air. So really be aware of your own mindset this week. In regards to the things that you have endured, 7 is endurance, but it's also spiritual growth. When things rise that are familiar to us, particularly those based of fear, our reactions can be very similar to what they've always been. That's not a good or bad thing, that's not negative or positive. But if they are exactly the same, they haven't grown. So how can we expand this week? How can we take anything that is mentally enduring, particularly when it feels like we're under attack unnecessarily, with conversations, with our shadow, with things that may suddenly come out or feel as if they're coming out, news in the social media, or, you know, things that are suddenly shared with you. Feeling into how we respond. How can we take it from, oh, this again, or the world is this X, Y, and Z, or whatever may be occurring, to mastery. I know this. This is familiar, and this is familiar because of all that I've learned. Bring that resolve back to the self, because the Seven of Swords, one of the biggest sides of the Seven of Swords is deception with ourselves, not seeing who we actually are, and that's what's on the surface of it all. So we can say that this person here is not to be trusted. Okay, what is that bringing up in us? Why do we feel as if we can't trust that energy? And I'm not suggesting that we just look at that within us. Maybe we don't trust something because for us it isn't real. Really honouring this week your emotional intuition rather than your mental logic, particularly as we are, I think it's today, isn't it? We're going to Cancer series, I was going to say. Oh, God. It can feel like that, right? Like another series of the same story or plot. As we go into Cancer season, I think today it's a Gemini moon. So we're going to have that mental energy that is dividing us emotionally this week. Being aware of that, particularly with the new moon as well in Cancer, I think tomorrow or Wednesday. Anyway, focus. Focus is key. We can be aware of all of these things. And what? What are we going to do about it? Do we need to do anything about it? How are we going to create with this energy? Knowing that we feel things for a reason, but that reason might not always be to fix or to change, but to work with when things come to our attention. So I have this habit of whenever I'm out, or if people come around to my house, or well, life pretty much, it feels as if every now and then something or someone will grab my chin and make me look at something. And that can be something on the shelves in the local supermarket, or a relative's ankles, or, you know, a particular door, and it will come up later along the street. Whatever you're being drawn to this week, acknowledge it for the focus. I was going to say the information that's available, but actually it's the focus, because I started to feel myself lose my way then. So there are many things that will draw our attention, but the ones that really grab your face and make you look at it, make you really feel things, is because it's asking you to regain focus. What is important to you? Why does that matter? Well, if we are to work with these energies, if we are to create with what is going on, if we truly are to step back into our power, we must be prepared emotionally, physically, spiritually. That isn't easy in a world that is full of chaos and warmongering and just sheer devastation. That isn't easy to remain balanced. I'm not saying avoid or disassociate, but in those times when you feel yourself out of balance, focus on what is important to you. It is our responsibility to maintain our own regulation. If we are unable to do that, what brings us back to center? Why is that important? Because like the ocean, it is made up of individual drops of water. We are those individual drops of water. Whilst we cannot change the world's problems, we can look at the ripple effect of ourselves being out of balance. That role, as we go into 2025, is going to take on greater precedence as we acknowledge the sheer power of our own emotional capacity, as we acknowledge our ability to feel things for the magic, the healing, the change that it really, really is. But it is time to take it a little bit further, to really look at where we're acting from. And I don't mean that in a matriarchal, do better type energy. I really don't. But if we want a different outcome, looking at where we are creating from is going to be vital. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. I'm actually feeling very hungry in the pit of my stomach, and it's like a starvation. It's like a famine for something different. And it's distracting me. It is distracting me. And at the top of the pack we have the Nine of Swords, and this man, the way that he's crouched down, actually feels like that's how I want to go. Like I just want to crouch right down to this hunger in the pit of my stomach. Like enough is enough. What next? What else is there? Surrender to the hunger. Feel the desires. Let the heart be open. Let it go beyond the mind of trying to understand something. Have the courage to feel it, to fall to our knees. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have fallen to my knees and given Great Spirit the finger. You know, like, really, I just don't understand what is going on here. I just don't understand what I can do. You know, that real pit of despair in our stomachs. Open to that. Holding it all together. I'm not saying ignore what is going on. Holding it all together. The body knows that it's frightened. The body knows that there has to be something more. The body knows that it wants something different. Surrendering to that this week is going to be really important. Allowing the mind to stop, the body to feel, and the consciousness to work together with those aspects to create something different now. Excuse me. It's there. It's in the pit of our stomachs, and it may not feel as if things have changed, but actually over the last, I would say, 9 years or so, so many people have shifted out of the way any reasons or understandings or distractions behind who they are, and they've really felt it. They felt that calling, that roar, that energy rising up within them, and it has brought them to their knees over and over and over. We have the ability to rise again, but first falling, first letting go, first opening to the emotions that need to be heard, the desires that need to be felt, that hunger that needs to be yearned for something different. Letting ourselves prepare for that. Okay, I'm not going to shuffle again. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Overall, and I did actually want to overall. There's going to be a great difficulty this week of trying to understand what is going on individually and not getting caught up in the collective. A great difficulty this week, because the guidance here is to not separate ourselves from what is going on outside, to know that obviously the world has an impact on us. We have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that it's okay to feel these things, this desperation, this yearning for something different. It's okay to feel these things. It's actually fundamental to acknowledge that the world impacts us, because how else are we going to acknowledge that we can impact the world? This, yes, of course, is about relating to things. Of course, it's about empathy, but it goes beyond that. This is about a connection to the earth. This is about a connection to our bodies. This is about a connection to each other. This is about a connection to community. It's one thing to talk about community. It's another to acknowledge that we feel it, that we are all connected. It's one thing to speak of self-care and taking care of the body for the vessel that it is of change, but it's another thing to actually recognize how important that is. How often do we see it? And it makes me emotional because I'm often under the scrutiny of it. How often do we see those that are remaining peaceful, retaining their peace, under attack because they're not feeling a certain way? How often do we see those that are under attack because they're driven by their passions and their fire? This week, acknowledging that everybody is here to do what they're here to do in their own way, and that we are all feeling this, that we are all impacted by this, because we all have an impact in what it is we offer. On the Monday, that's going to come forth in the Two of Cups. What I feel drawn to share here in the Two of Cups, let's go beyond. Let's expand a little bit beyond the masculine, beyond the feminine, beyond soulmates and twin flames, although that is there. Of course, the more we connect to ourselves, the more we will connect to each other, the more we will connect to tribes that we have perhaps been disassociated from, disconnected from, denying of. Oh, wouldn't it be easier if the people that we were drawn to, I'm going to say attracted to, were the same as us or made sense? But that's not what it's about this week, okay? Because you can have so many people in a group that all do the same thing, but you need that other energy that does something different to bring in an alternative reality, an alternative way of looking at things or doing things. So this week, yes, we have the masculine and feminine reuniting in a more healthy perspective. Yes, we have relationships being reinitiated. Yes, we have soulmates in twin flames. Remember, soulmates in twin flames aren't always about a love relationship. They could be that there's something there to be created. The chemistry that we feel with the person isn't always about a intimate relationship. It can be about creating something with somebody. So really opening and expanding ourselves there, and I can feel that myself with a few insights that have come through, really opening and expanding there. But what I wanted to draw attention to is the rainbow in the background. Yes, we have the with every rain and silver linings and all that kind of thing, but what I'm being reminded of is the two cups and the rainbow, temperance. Whilst on a minor surface level, and I don't mean minor in downgrading what is going on, but a minor surface level, this is about relationships. This is obviously about peace treaties and forming more solid foundational connections on a global, more conscious actually level. This is about connecting us all, our past, our present, our ability to stay focused in humanity, the rainbow bridge, the rainbow prophecies, all of it is coming to completion. Not this week. I'm not going to say this week. I'd love to say this week. Why won't I say this week? A lack of can it all be in one moment? Who knows? But a bringing together of everything in every moment this week is going to bring forth a necessary completion of relationships that are meant to be together for reasons beyond their understanding. Temperance, the rainbow bridge, the higher connections here, the one cup, even though there's two, the one cup here at the very center from our heart, that speaks of a greater union. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is Odin. Can't quite see him in the background there. I don't know who the other character is. But Odin there, our ability to perceive things, our ability to take out the eye of what we've always known. Those that know the story of Odin, obviously he removed his eyes so that he could see beyond his own perspectives and find the wisdom of the runes, but to take out the eye of what we know and to open our own perception on the Monday is what's really going to bring forth a more humane connection, not only to the world around us, but to ourselves. On the Tuesday, I find myself looking at time because 32 minutes in already. But I find myself looking at time as we have the first major arcana, which is the Hermit. And this is where I feel drawn to look at the energies for the week as well. We have the Ace and Three of Wands. The way to really move forward this week is to take stock, to pause, to acknowledge the time that things have taken, to be with the feeling that time may be running out, to balance the peace and urgency as one and allow a merging of the two to come together. I see that energy of no longer being in transition. The body isn't confused, the psyche isn't confused, the collective isn't confused about what needs to happen, but also avoiding the desire to rush in and get it over and done with, to sit with that, almost that point of no return, to sit with it and allow things to start to shift and move in their own momentum. This week is what it's all about. When that becomes difficult, because oh my God, that's going to become difficult. It's going to become intense throughout the week. You know, there are going to be moments of sheer joy, actually, where we really didn't expect that to come through. Moments of sheer pleasure where, you know, we've waited so long for these things to appear. Moments of sheer terror and fear. The emotions are going to be extreme this week. And that's not to scare anybody, but that's to prepare. What we're being guided to do, particularly on the Tuesday, is to go within, to find that light. We have the Hermit, to go within, to find that light, to find that resilience of who we are, to be with what we need in order to stay calm, stay regulated, not to cover over what is going on. I don't mean stay calm and not be affected by anything. I mean be affected by it and keep bringing it back in. Bring the chaos into the self. Bring the chaos into the calm. Transmute it. Be wobbled by it, but keep returning back to who you are. Keep maintaining that balance. This is magic. This is how we transmute things. It's not about ignoring them. It's not about being not doing anything passive aggressive. It's not about that. It's so beyond that. It's about recognizing, regardless what you do with the information coming through, if you do not acknowledge where you're doing it from, you will always be out of control and in conflict with this far greater union of your own potential that's trying to come through. The way to do that is to go within, and in this card it depicts the Hermit beautifully. It's not about the endurances, it's about the roots of who we are. It's not about the path that we walk. It's not even about the light or the darkness. It's about how rooted we can be. And the way to do that, the Isa rune, ice, stillness of the mind, clarity and focus. Where is my mind taking me? How rooted in my body do I feel with that? Keep coming back to that sacred alignment. On the Wednesday, we then have, Tuesday feels like a really powerful day. Is that the new moon? Or is it the Wednesday? It might be, well, we'll feel it on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, I'm hearing, what will we feel on the Tuesday? Try not to get too caught up in what you are feeling on the Tuesday. Feel it by all means, go through the process of it. But what's more important, I'm going to say more important, is it's not downplaying what you're feeling. Anybody that wants to contact me and say, I'm feeling it, it's not about downplaying what you're feeling. I don't know what you're feeling. I'm not going through it. So I therefore can't comment on how intense it is, good it is, bad it is. I have no idea. But it's about knowing that you are capable of feeling it. I really feel that in my throat, really feel the body's communication trying to say, okay, yes, you're feeling this, but what's more important is to recognize just how much you can feel, because that is fucking powerful, really, really powerful, opening your heart to that. Because then on the Wednesday, we have the Six of Swords. We have that transition of our emotions. Again, it's not about moving beyond them, it's moving with them. Our body cannot grow, cannot move, cannot be a human without moving with its emotions, feeling with its emotions. We can't suppress this anymore. We can't rise above this anymore. We can't switch this off anymore or try and fix this anymore. It's time to move with it. And that's where I really feel the higher heart starting to shift on the Wednesday. On the Thursday, yes, of course, we're going to have the Eight of Cups. And this reminds me of the Thursday from last week. So being mindful of the same card, being mindful of anything that came up on the Thursday last week, coming back up again this week. And that may feel as if it's repetitive, but it isn't. It's the grief card, right, in the tarot. When we experience a grief, so an example, losing my mother-in-law, I felt, wow, all the losses over the years, each time there's been another loss, it brings forth another level of grief, not just for what I've lost in that moment, but what I've lost beforehand that I haven't had chance to grieve. On the Thursday, emotionally, once we know we can feel these things, it is going to open the floodgates. This is going back to the pandemic as well. This is going back to the fear that rose with that. There has been so much grief unacknowledged since that pandemic, when the world faced, I'm not getting into whether it was real or not. I'm not getting into the many, many stories that for me personally, all they did was seek to divide a community. What happened back then is the life that we knew, for whatever side you were on, no longer existed. It changed, and there has been so much grief that has not been addressed since then. that is coming back up every time we face fear, coming back up every time we face death, coming back up every time we face loss or endings or whatever is bringing that forward. And on the Thursday, we're going to feel that. We're going to feel that shift again with the emotional wisdom and integrity of knowing from the Wednesday that we're capable of doing that. It's going to be of our own choosing. We're going to say, okay, yeah, we're ready to do this now. We've taken that cup. I don't know if you can see the squirrel here. We've taken that cup from the Two of Cups, that heart coherence, and we're running up the roots of the Hermit. We're running up the tree of the Hermit here. All the bits are going to slot in come the Thursday. Things are going to start to make sense. It's going to be, oh, that happened because of that, but not logically, emotionally. We're going to start to feel our own strength and resilience and the deeper understanding and embodiment of our own path, because of what we feel, because of who and how we connect to ourselves and each other. And on the Thursday, it's going to be that actually shifts us from what's going on underneath it all and helps us to rise. On the Friday, when I originally put these cards out, I first saw the Knight of Swords and thought, oh shit, on the Friday, because we have a warrior riding in. You know, if ever there was a war card, it would kind of be this one, and then have Justice and the Emperor straight after. So if ever there was a challenge to be coming forward on the Friday, it would be the Knight of Swords, the fear of rushing in too fast. However, provided the Monday we can unite with that higher wisdom that's coming through, be that each other or our emotional intelligence, and on the Tuesday we can sit and ground in who we are and keep restoring balance. On the Wednesday, moving forward with our emotions, and on the Thursday, releasing the grief that may not have had a place to be heard or spoken. On the Friday, that movement is just and fair, and that is where I say acknowledging if we feel a certain way about something, it may not be that we have to look at ourselves and change ourselves or work on whatever's coming up. Really acknowledging authentically what your pillars are of morality. I was going to say priorities, but it's not. It's morality here. It's time that we start seeing self-care, community, families, tribes, holding the light, healing, whatever you want, creativity, life itself as a pillar of morality beyond priorities. This isn't about, I want a bit of self-care because I feel sad. This isn't about, oh, that has triggered me, so I need to work on X, Y, and Z. This is about actually the vision that we are striving to create. Let that guide you. Not the ego, not the mind. It's not that these things aren't important and I don't want to get rid of the mind or the ego. They're not enough. The ego isn't enough. The mind isn't enough. Spirituality alone, positive thinking, the light, it's not enough. It has to be both sides of the sword. You need that darkness. You need that frustration and that despair. But you need the hope. And you need the light too. It's working with both of them for the divine connection that they are on the Friday. If on the Saturday we are to bring around a just cause. Now, in this deck in particular, even though justice isn't the strength card, you can see that there's still an element of animalistic energy there. So like me with the totem this morning, with the spider this morning, recognizing that the fear of the spider initiated my own animal instinct there, and rather than fight it, I got up and got done what I wanted to get done. So whatever you're feeling on the Saturday is an opportunity not to be attacked by your own emotions or those of others, but to work with them, to use them as your strength, to help them get you to get up and get things done, to restore the harmony and the justice and the balance in your own life. Some of the things we may see externally may not make sense. Oh God, I feel that really emotionally. Some of the things we see may make us angry. We may disagree with them 100%. However, justice, harmony, balance has to be restored on a level that we will never understand, purely from our own belief systems. purely from our own connections, purely from our own hopes and desires and fears. This is a community-based project, projection, vision, whatever you want to call it. Acknowledging that there are far greater things out of our perspective that are going on here. Bringing that focus back. What do I need to do about my life and myself in order to be prepared for whatever I'm being asked to fight for, to maintain, to hold space for? On the Sunday, we then have the Emperor card. What do I want to say about the Emperor that hasn't already been said? And that feels important. What do I want to say about what's going on here that hasn't already been said? Come the Sunday, if there's nothing new to be added. My grandmother used to say, if you have nothing nice to say. But if there's nothing new to be added on the Sunday, it's not about being nice or positive or negative. Is it new? Is it going to make people and yourself sit down and think about what the next action is? Is it coming from a strong, grounded, rooted masculinity here? On the Sunday, the events that are occurring are going to make us sit down, take stock, and feel into the storm that is going on around us, so that we remember here, the one thing that I see here, past the temptation of focusing on the masculine, past the temptation of focusing on, he's been to war or he's going to war, the lightning bolts, the storm. For me, that would be the Heyoka way. It's interesting because this morning I nearly put on a Thunderbird necklace that I found in a charity shop in the most unusual place, in my town actually, the most unusual place. But I'd asked Spirit that day for a sign of the energies that I needed to connect to. And here it was, this Thunderbird necklace, which on the back said, with great thanks from the Indigenous children. I was going to wear it this morning, and the reason I didn't is because I felt it wasn't appropriate. I have this big thing about cultural appropriation. Who am I to wear this Thunderbird necklace? This week, come the Sunday, who am I to comment on this? Who am I to have a voice, to have an opinion? Really asking yourself, who are you? What is being asked of you to be voiced, to be spoken in this energy of intense storm? How are you going to be centered within it all? How are you going to, I can hear the song, bring forth the chaos. I'm not suggesting that, but how are you going to work with this chaos energy this week? You may not know. It may not be obvious out there. It may not be obvious in your mind. It may not be obvious in your job or your situations. So look at the energy that is calling your attention. For me personally, the thunderbolts were calling my attention. The thunderbolts remind me of Zeus, which is the emperor, right? And then the moment I feel into the thunderbolts, I can see the eagle that is also linked to the emperor and to Zeus. And the moment I can see that, I can see Zeus's very concrete, stable throne. I can feel into the need for a higher perspective, to not feed and scavenge off of energy that is no longer relevant to me. I can feel into the power of lightning bolts and change and thunder. I can feel into the stable security of knowing where I sit and the position that I take. So this week, come Sunday, I mean, that may resonate with you, great, on Sunday. But this week, come Sunday, if you're not sure what is being asked of you, where do you feel home? Where do you feel centered? Where do you feel grounded? Where do you feel as if you can have the most impact? Or what impacts you the most? How do you help others feel grounded and centered? Recognize that energy as your own. Recognize that energy as you in the center of this chaos. So 49 minutes. Overall, we have 3 major arcanas. So again, interesting. I had to move the Knight of Swords out of the way and put the Hermit next to the major arcanas. This week, again, I really feel this in my higher heart. Do not let the mental energy of what you think something should be. And I have to be mindful because I'm almost doing it, right? Look where you're creating the thing you're suggesting not to. Be aware of any areas where your mental energy of how things should be are getting in the way of fate itself. Is that possible? Yes, of course it's possible. There are aspects within a reading or within prophecies and predictions that we like to think are totally unchangeable in this security, comfort of spirit always doing what is best regardless. There's free will. There is free will. So I always say to people in a reading, if I was to say to you on a Thursday, you know, you get run over by a bus, I'm not saying you are, but if I was to say that, then you wouldn't go out on a Thursday, you know. So can we control fate in our reactions and our actions? 100%. And it's time that we take fucking responsibility for that. It's time that we stand up and acknowledge how powerful we truly are. There are things that are going to ride theirself out. There are things that need to happen to restore harmony. However, the outcome of that will be dependent on our own reactions. So I have had to put the Knight of Swords to one side and allow the Hermit to come in as the major arcana here. Clumping those fate energies together feels really important not to allow or to look at why we may allow or what may happen if we allow. Be mindful of the communication we have with ourselves this week. What may happen if we allow our minds to take control rather than go within and restore harmony first before acting. The Knight of Swords is not the king. That's what I will say. That's all I will put out there. The Knight of Swords is not the king energy. Yes, it's a doing energy, but it's not a mature doing energy. Take time this week to ensure that you are acting from a place of stillness, of grounded responsibility. Know what you are creating. Step into the Hermit year. Step into the fact that it isn't just about walking your path and holding the light, but others are going to follow you. Not on Instagram or Facebook. Maybe they will. Hey, who knows? But it's not about that type of following. It's not even about guru following or anything like that. Jesus following it. It's not about that. It's about those that are coming. Emotional again, it's about our ancestors. They will follow this path. They will look at how we walked our life and they will create their own based upon it, whether we like it or not. You know, we either do what our parents did or we do the complete opposite. Either way, the way that we were raised has an impact in who we are. Acknowledging that this week and taking responsibility for the legacy that we are leaving behind. How? Recognizing we are creators of our own future also. Feeling into that. Owning that. Admitting that. Then we have the 3 major arcanas together. The Hermit, Justice and the Emperor. So of course that's all 3 energies summed up, right? The Hermit, the Justice card, and the Emperor is about acknowledging that when we are in balance, when we are in harmony, our actions are less destructive, more constructive. Not that they don't bring things down or that they don't change things or that they don't sometimes end things, but that they do so from a place of regeneration. Regeneration. What are we providing here in our roots, in the systems that we feed from, in the systems that we are leaving behind? Community doesn't stop in this one lifetime, okay? It's about those before us and those after us as well. Community is as infinite as life itself. So really looking at that this week and ensuring that what we do, when I said in the reading that I felt like everything was going to come to a completion from this perspective, from this week, it may not necessarily happen this week, but it will be as part of this week. We know every moment we are creating for the future, but never has this been more paramount than this week. So really looking at the gifts that you are leaving for those that will be here when you're not. Then again, you never know where these readings are going to go, right? Then we have 2 cup cards. It's actually a very beautifully balanced week. We have 2 cup cards, 2 sword cards, and 2 wand cards. No earth cards this week. So really, really, really feeling into how important it is to remain grounded this week. Although we do have the Hermit year, and we do have the Hermit as the first leading major arcana this week. We then have a sword and a fire card here. When it comes to our emotions, you can hold space for both. You can hold space for, you have the 2 of Cups and the 8 of Cups. You can hold space for grief and for hope, for loss and beginnings, for love and hate. It's okay to feel those things. You know, you can hold space for the dark and for the light, for the negative and the positive, for the past and the future. If you're in the present moment. If you're not, it's going to feel like constant grief and confusion emotionally this week. So uniting with where you're at, feel it. Allow yourself to feel it and allow yourself to release this belief that you can't. It's not too much. Things feel too much when we see ourselves small. That's where the ego isn't enough. It's not that the ego is a bad thing. It's not enough. Spirituality is not a solely positive thing. It's not enough. Embody your own human self. Bring your soul's potential down through what you do in everyday actions. That temperance energy there, focus. Chop wood, carry water. It may not feel like the small things are important, but they really, really are. Prep yourself for the life that you're living now also, rather than concentrating your whole energy on the future that has yet to be written. Doesn't matter what you think is going to happen, it hasn't yet, which means there's always, always potential. Ain't over till the fat lady sings, right? That's just a saying, obviously. We then have 2 wand cards here. We have the Ace of Wands and the 3 of Wands. And that's where I can feel like that could really go the wrong way and be seen as an insult. And it wasn't. However, people are entitled to feel what they want to feel. This week, when it comes to spiritual energy, when it comes to anger, passion, drive, ambition, people are going to feel whatever they want to feel, whatever they need to feel. And we may say things ad hoc without being more consciously aware of everyone else's feelings, but it isn't our responsibility to be so prepared that we never move forward, that we never share. We have the Ace of Wands here and the 3 of Wands. We can prepare ourselves for all the situations that we're aware of, but we can never prepare ourselves for the ones that we're not. That is going to be based on the perspectives and the outcomes of things that are out of our control this week. So acknowledging, feeling into what is being asked of me, of you, of us individually on a spiritual level, and allowing other things to just move on in the way that they need to. In this card, you can see a ship in the background. It isn't the 6 of Swords, but right next to it, we have the 6 of Swords, which is the ship. Okay, so letting things move on as they need to move on. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You're always going to say something that is going to glimmer someone, that is going to cause a reaction in someone. Don't let that stop you being who you are this week. It's really important. I can feel it in my throat. We then have 2 sword cards, the 6 of Swords and the Knight of Swords. Look at the difference here. They're both sword cards. They're both to do with the mind. They're both mental cards. However, one is sailing with the emotions. The other is charging forth, protected, barriered up, prepared. This week, really looking into what it is you believe you're preparing yourself for, where that comes from, and whether or not you're actually ready to face the truth of it. I'm going to leave it there. Take care, and I shall see you soon.